Hi there, it's Renessa Boley Layne, and welcome to another conversation on creating your perfect work. We are in the middle of our Love and Work Summit series. So if you have missed any part of this interview series, make sure you make time, go back, watch what you missed, catch what resonates with you. Because again, whether you are married, dating, single, coupled up, craving love, running as fast away from love as possible, there is something in this series for you. So, in today's conversation, we are going to talk about your split personality in love and in work. And so, I'm going to leave a little mystery as to what I mean by that. But for some of us, our work, whether it's our career or our business, is a total buzzkill for our love life. And actually, it's not the work, it's how we choose to show up in work that's keeping us from the amazing experiences that we want to have in our love life. And so, this lovely woman who is sharing the screen with me today is Teal Elisabeth. And Teal is the CEO and founder of Relax into Love Coaching. And so, this whole relax thing, she's got the trees in the back and all that. So, she's on brand. She is on brand. Founder and CEO of Relax into Love Coaching. She supports ambitious, high achieving women to become masters of their love life and manifest their most desired relationship with joy and ease. She is trained in the principles of feminine energy, which we all need, NLP, and deep subconscious reprogramming. And through her teaching, she helps women to awaken to elevated partnership and divine connection with themselves and their partner. So she has been happily co-creating a deeply soul-nourishing spiritual partnership with her husband for the last 9 years while traveling the world as nomadic entrepreneurs. Now that's cool. And they are now happily settled in Washington state and soaking up a new chapter of life with their first baby boy, whom I met, and he's the cutest thing ever. So congratulations to that. But what I admire about Teal is that she embodies what it means to bring the queen into the marketplace. And she's a walking, talking billboard for exuding feminine energy in the workplace while still driving success and commanding respect and achieving results and all the things that we want, for our lives. And so you're going to learn a lot from her. And with that, I just want to welcome you to the show, Teal.
Oh, what an introduction. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
You're absolutely welcome. You're absolutely welcome. So one of your signature concepts is this idea of relationship energetics. What exactly does that mean?
Yes. I love getting to talk about this. To me, relationship energetics is really deepening into this concept that relationships are so much more than what we see on the surface level. A lot of times all of that I talk on, that I teach on, it comes from my own lack of understanding from the past and my own struggles from the past. So starting back in the past for myself, I really struggled with relationships, and I searched and sought and watched all the YouTube videos and all the books and all the free trainings and
all the things.
And it felt so surface level. It felt like what to text and how to get them to want you. And it really kept me in my head, overthinking, strategizing, planning, stressing, and when I really think about what has really shifted things for me and really made such a difference, it's really been about dropping into a depth of the energy of relationships. Okay. And once I was able to understand what I now talk about and coin as relationship energetics, I was able to really interact with not just men, with everyone in my life from such a different space that made such a difference. So what is relationship energetics? It's about seeing relationships as energy exchanges. Mm-hmm. So not just coming into it from a place of the mind of, am I looking the part? Am I acting the part? Am I, making him want me in all the ways? But how is actually my energy underneath that showing up for him? How is he receiving me on a deeper level? Right? Because a lot of times as women, and I used to be this way too, right? I'm going to say that a lot. We come into it looking the part, saying the right things, thinking we're doing all the right things, and still they're like, nah, right? Something's off. And they can't exactly tell you what it is, but they show it usually based on either playing hot and cold, right? Or fizzling out, or not really deepening and opening up to you in the ways that you're really craving and wanting. And so we keep thinking, oh, they're just not available. Oh, I'm just not meeting good men. But there's so much more that we can actually take responsibility for in how we are showing up in our energy that will actually radically shift the way that they feel us. And when they feel us in a new way, then they can reciprocate and show up in a different energy that will shift the relationships.
Yeah. It's interesting because, more and more I'm hearing this idea of kind of one person being able to transform a relationship. And ideally, when you're in any relationship, you want both people kind of coming to the table, meeting in the middle, kind of, everybody's trying to grow together. But the reality is that oftentimes when you're talking about energy, people are reacting to us. Even though we don't realize it, they're reacting to something that we're putting out. So I'm putting something out, and it's in every situation, right? We're talking about love relationships, but this is the same in career, business, whatever, siblings, parents, whatnot. We put something out, there's an input into this dynamic that is our relationship. And then based on what we put in, something comes back, something comes out. A lot of times it's not what we wanted. We're like, wait a minute, how did this happen? But why are we at each other? Like, how did this happen? All I said was,
yep.
But it goes back to this idea of energy. Sometimes it's not what you said or what you did. Sometimes it's the energy underlying underneath that you are either consciously aware of or perhaps unconsciously aware of, such that life just gives feedback. I'm one of those people. I'm like, no, it's not bad. It's feedback. And you're either going to do something with that or you're not. It's either working or it's not, but it is feedback. And so this thought of energetics helps us to then take a step back and be like, well, what ownership can I take in this process? Now, again, every relationship, that might not be the person for you, or y'all might, not a bad guy or whatever, but it's just not. But how can I take ownership for how I'm showing up? And if the reaction, the feedback is not great, then how do I go inward and figure out, is there something deeper than the doing that I need to really consider? So I appreciate that point. But you work largely with high achieving women. And so you've seen women that span the gamut, and even you, and we'll talk about your story in a moment, but why do ambitious women tend to struggle in love? Because on the outside, they're blowing it away everywhere else, but yet in secret, there's this pain around, I'm not making this work, whether it's in the dating space, which is your wheelhouse, or even in the marriage space. What's happening there?
Yeah. A lot of times this energy that we are maybe aware of or not aware of is seeping into how men are receiving us. And a lot of times that work energy, that go-getter, ambitious, driven woman energy, is actually not the energy that men want to feel in a relationship. And that may be triggering, and that's okay, but just hear me out.
I was about to say, you have hurt somebody's feelings.
And I say this.
Please continue to listen to the end.
No, I mean, this was me for 8 years. I was stuck in a dating pattern that I now lovingly call the hook and fizzle, where I would hook men in with this allure of being this badass go-getter. I worked in the corporate world in Silicon Valley and San Francisco. I had all my shit together. I could check all the boxes in my life except loving, committed relationship. I felt like I was on top of the world, and I would bring that badass energy into meeting a man on a date. And although on the surface level, they were like, oh, okay, they were intrigued, they were hooked. After a little while, they were realizing that energy wasn't actually what they wanted in a relationship. And it's not to say that you have to go and change who you are. That is not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that there is more of yourself that gets to come online that sometimes we either haven't given ourselves permission to show, or we are not even aware exists. And that is this dynamic of the masculine and the feminine energy. Because to me, when we are in that badass go-getter get shit done, take over the world attitude that we pride ourselves in, and that the world has very much conditioned us to kind of step into and own.
Yeah.
This is more of a masculine energy space, right? It comes from the mind. It comes from a place of planning and doing and achieving. But when we are wanting to attract, and this is for women that are heterosexual, wanting to attract a masculine energy type of man, if we are bringing in that masculine energy when we get out on our dates, or even when we're in our marriage, we're actually bringing masculine to another polarity of masculine. And it's just like magnets, right? We can't have the same polarity of masculine and masculine together. They repel each other, right? So that's where this beautiful polarity of masculine and feminine really come together to bring that energy of attraction. So when we are in that place of the corporate workplace, or even owning your own business, or whatever it is that you're doing, that kind of masculine energy presence is really powerful. But we have to be very, very aware of shifting gears and bringing forth this other essence of ourselves that is that feminine essence. And it may not feel like something that women are wanting to identify with, or maybe, women are feeling repulsed by it, or feeling, and we can kind of talk about that more later. But there is this whole other essence of ourselves that I think has for a long time been pushed down or not made to feel safe. But that is the secret little energy that men are looking for, that masculine men are really, really looking for, so that they can feel comfortable and safe to show up in their masculine for the relationship.
Got it. So then let's clarify that for the woman who's listening and kind of feeling like, is that really fair? Are you saying that I can't be accomplished, I can't succeed, I can't lead, I can't be hard charging, I can't be driven? Are you telling me those are mutually exclusive, and that somehow I'm going to have to dumb down in order to, because then in her mind she's like, well, I need to go find a better man, like I need somebody who can take all of this and this and that and the other. So how do those two things coexist? And for the ideal guy, does he really appreciate that aspect of who you are? Does he appreciate the accomplishment and the driven, and my woman is doing X, Y, and Z? Because the way it sounds is that somehow the woman has to choose between being amazing in the world and then being loved behind.
I love that you're bringing up this distinction, and I'm so glad that we get to clarify, because that is absolutely not what I want women to take away from. I think it's just important to really paint that vision first of like the two polarities, so we understand what's coming, right? And now it's about how do we marry them both so that we get to bring our full self to whoever it is that we're connecting with, whether it's in a relationship or whether it's in the workplace, because this feminine and masculine energy dynamic is definitely not mutually exclusive. They are both so incredibly important. I think what happens, or what I've noticed happen, and what I've seen from connecting and working with so many women, is that we've almost just lost touch with this whole other version of ourselves. That we are so swung to one side, right? It's like the 1950s housewife was one way, and now we've swung completely to the other side, right? And the pendulum is now needing to come back to be more centered. And so this is definitely not about giving up or sacrificing or settling. And I have a whole training on not sacrificing or settling who you are. However, we need to bring out this other essence of ourselves, right? And let it all come to the surface. And I agree, like my man loves the crap out of me for being so driven. Like that is the number one thing that he always tells me is what attracted him to me, is that I am so ambitious and driven, and he never wants me to give that up. However, if that's the only thing I'm bringing to the table, and I'm not able to showcase the softness, the vulnerability, the nurturing, right? The open-hearted, the emotions, then he's not able to fully feel me to my depths. And this is where I think is the difference between our girlfriends and guys. Because when we're with our girlfriends, we can be our badass self, but we also are our feminine self, right? We go to the depths, we cry in front of them, we tell them all our secrets. But when we're with men, somehow we completely shut that part off, or a lot of women do, because they don't feel comfortable with that, right? So it's almost that we're not sacrificing that part of us for men. It's more about bringing the version of ourselves that we are with our girlfriends into the space of the relationship. Does that help make sense?
No, it totally does. And I think there's an element for some women of safety Like, do I feel safe in this relationship to bring that side of me? Are you still going to love me? Are you still going to respect me? Are you going to reject me? And people have all kinds of reasons for why those fears might be there, and they might be legitimate. You could have legitimately been in relationships with men who were not mature in their masculine, in which case your femininity could certainly have been damaged, or it certainly could have been dishonored or dismissed or disregarded. And what's so interesting about that is that, independent of the experience, it doesn't mean that that feminine essence is still not necessary for an amazing relationship. And I think some folks think, well, I should just cut that off because that didn't work the last time, or I got hurt, or I got burned, or I got whatever. So we're not touching that stove again. So I'm going to bring this whole other armored person to the table and just think that this new and improved safe version, I'm just going to have a great relationship with new and improved safe version of me. Not recognizing that in order to have extraordinary relationship, safe version has to take a backseat with whatever work is required to get there. But we don't get to come fully suited in armor and think that then we still get the rewards of this amazing relationship.
Beautiful
Like,
said.
it has to give,
Absolutely.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
you have your own story of transformation, right? So how did you go from the woman that you described with all this masculine energy and so on and so forth and kind of imbalanced to the woman that you are today?
Yeah, yeah. It's been a journey for sure, but it did start with me realizing that, wow, maybe I am actually the common denominator here in all of these relationships that keep fizzling out. Because for a while I kept putting it on the man and I kept blaming them. I kept thinking there's something that they just aren't doing, but I'm fine. I just need to keep being me, right?
Good. All good.
So diving in and really like actually going into my own self and admitting, wow, maybe there's some opportunity for me to learn here. That was a huge part of it. Self-development's always been a part of my life, but really putting that focus on relationships had never been something that I'd really given myself permission to do, because for some reason I felt embarrassed, and maybe other women are feeling this way too. It's almost like admitting that you need help in relationships feels like there's something wrong with you, or you're not good enough, or you can't do it, right? But yet, you know, if we're in business, we'll go get a business mentor to help us in our business. Or if in fitness, we want to be fitness, we'll get a fitness nutritionist, right? But we don't think about that for relationships. We're just supposed to get it and supposed to have this perfect relationship. So that's why I love that we're having this summit, having this conversation, just normalizing that you don't have to have it all figured out right away. This takes time to figure out and to go in and be introspective. And then for me, it was actually allowing myself to learn more about feminine energy, because I was completely untapped to my feminine energy. I have a very masculine energy mother. I had been very cultivated in my life to be that masculine driven woman. And I just had never really thought about feminine energy at all, and slowly started practicing it with different men and letting myself see, kind of almost like a fun experiment, see just how the energy shifted. And it was amazing to see just that quickly how men would shift their responses to me and their interactions with me as I started deepening into these principles and way of being. And now it's just become so much a part of who I am that, I don't know how I even operated any other way. Right? Yeah.
I think you're so right, because people do get help. Like, okay, I'm trying to lose weight, it's not working. Jenny Craig, somebody someplace to get some kind of support, right? But I think many folks go into relationship and you think it's just the most natural thing in the world. Like, I got 2 degrees. Shouldn't I have been able to figure out how to get along with a dude? Just be able to do it. And there's so much shame that comes when it doesn't work. Because people think it's me. Like, how could I not succeed in the most basic way? Right. And so you look at, you talked about you didn't have a masculine, like your mother was more on the masculine side. I was born to teenage parents. So my mom was 16 when I was born, and my dad, like, we grew up together first two
Yeah.
years. And so they did the best that they could in their relationship, but it certainly was not a relationship that modeled femininity. Like my mom was mad, bitter, hurt. Like my dad was trying to figure out how to be a man. Like, and I was an only child, military kid. And so you grew up like you need to just show up for your life, be
Yeah.
disciplined, get ish done, and just move on. And so stepping into relationships, there was no model. And then for some folks
Mhm.
who did see feminine models, they often saw disempowered feminine models. And
Mhm.
so in their minds, they're running away from 1950s housewife who couldn't have her own money and this and that and the other. And
Mhm.
so this idea that femininity now is bad. And
Right.
so when you're talking about swinging the pendulum, nobody has a model for what is
Yeah.
healthy femininity and
Yes.
what is powerful femininity. And men don't have models for how do I honor that and
Yes.
how do I cultivate that in my woman. And so you have a woman who doesn't know how to be feminine, and then you have a man who doesn't know how to honor and cultivate femininity. And so then you have this just like hot mess.
And that's why I'm so passionate about this. Oh my gosh, because I see this happening in our world and our poor men. My heart breaks for our poor men because they don't know what to do with us, right? It's like we look like a woman, but we act like a man. And so they're like, where do I fit into this equation, right? And if they say anything wrong, we just write them off and just cut them out, and they don't even have a chance to feel safe. And I would love to explore a little bit about what actually that feminine energy
Yes,
looks
let's
like,
talk about that.
right? Because it's not, I think there is such a connotation about what feminine energy is. And I just want to speak to each of you women right now and say that feminine energy, I would love for you to think about your first three words that come to your mind with feminine energy, right? For a lot of women, it's needy, emotional, right? Weak, disempowered, like you said. And this is not what I'm referring to when I speak about feminine energy. To me, feminine energy comes with almost this priestess energy or this queen energy, right? It's the best way I can describe it. It's like this energy that comes out of your heart, right? It's like cracking your heart open and just letting yourself glow from the inside out. And from that space, that has to come from a place of strength and power and compassion and love, right? I talk a lot about this concept of being strong on the inside and soft on the outside, right? A lot of women walk around being kind of like you talked about that suit of armor, strong on the outside, but soft on the inside, right? We're afraid of showing that mushy gushy side. And so we hold that protection on the outside, but we need to invert that strength and hold that strength with our boundaries, with our worth, with our value, with our badass. I know I'm powerful, gonna get shit done, gonna probably like run you around the block kind of energy. But I'm gonna showcase a softness, a kindness, a compassion, right? That allows men to see us and respect us for that power without being deterred or emasculated by it. Right?
Got it. And why is it? Obviously, every woman is at choice for how, we're all at choice for how we choose to show up in the world. Why, in your opinion, is feminine energy non-negotiable for a really juicy, sexy, dynamic, loving, safe relationship?
Oh,
Now, again, that's assuming you want a
question.
masculine man. Like, that's, assuming you want a masculine man. This
Yeah.
is the context for the conversation. Why is it non-negotiable?
Yeah. I love this question so much. The only way to be able to really have a man fall in love with you is if he's able to feel you. This goes back to the energy, right? He has to be able to feel you on a heart level. And when we show up in the masculine energy, a lot of times we are coming at it from our mind and our brain, right? We are thinking, we're strategizing, we're planning, we are reporting. We are not actually coming to the relationship from our heart.
Mm-hmm.
And we're keeping that protection around our heart. We're not dropping into our feelings, into our emotions, into our vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen this and I've experienced it for myself for so many years. When we bring in the mind and we meet him with the mind, that's the only place it can go. It can't go anywhere else, right? The mind can't get into the heart. The only way to get into the heart is to open up and actually lead from the heart, which means that we have to be able to drop out of the mind and drop into the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the feminine energy lives, right? Mm-hmm. Like I said, the feminine energy model of being that priestess, that queen, is this open-hearted presence of energy, right? So when we're able to drop into that essence of that open energy of love and that frequency of love, we are automatically helping men to get out of their mind and drop into their heart. And from that place, they can feel you. They can actually have that more intimacy, that more depth, that more connection that makes them go, whoa, I'm falling for her, right? If we don't go into that space, he may find you sexy as hell. He may have a ton of fun with you. You guys may be able to banter till the cows come home, right? And have really philosophical debates and have all these other connections. But there will still be something that he's like, something's missing, right? He needs to be able to feel that connection on a heart level.
Got it. And how does that impact how safe a man feels with you?
It impacts everything, right? Because when we, and this is where, as women, we have a lot of ownership where we can kind of lead this in a lot of ways. Some men are able to lead this and it's beautiful when they can. But in general, because we are of a more feminine essence makeup, we tend to be able to lead that essence of opening up men's hearts and helping them to get into their emotions, right? Most men, when they hang out with other men, they're not dropping to their heart. They're not talking about their feelings.
Did y'all talk about anything real?
They're busting each other's balls and shooting the shit. So they crave a woman to help bring them into their heart space. And that's what they really want. And they really do need that. And so we get to be almost the beacons and the shepherds to help welcome them into that space and model for them what it looks like to be in an emotionally safe space. And the only way they can feel emotionally safe is if they see us modeling it as well in a beautiful, healthy way, right? Not from a dumping our feelings on them, but from a place of empowered emotions, right? I'm feeling really embarrassed right now. I'm feeling really connected right now. I'm feeling really tired, or I'm feeling really ashamed right now. Letting them to see how you model communicating from your feelings is going to help them to feel safe to do the same.
Yeah. And I think it's such a beautiful point, because oftentimes as women, we want to feel like we're that man's equal, right? And you are, like, we are definitely equal, not better, not worse. We are in every way a man's equal, but we are also completely different. And so where that equality comes, it's like we think, well, I need to, bring as much money to the table, or I need to, have achieved as much, or I need to have, so the metric by which we measure our equality is a metric that in and of itself isn't bad, but it erodes the polarity in the relationship. And so it's like, well, I don't necessarily want another dude. I'm, and so as women, we're sometimes not conditioned to recognize that what we bring from a feminine place is actually essential to making the partnership work. It's essential to creating a safe household. It's essential to creating a home of rest, like where this man can walk into the door and feel rested after. Like, there are things that he is in his mature masculine can do, such that when you come through the door, you feel peace, you feel like you can, let down your guard, you feel safe and nurtured. Like, he's got his responsibility there, but so do we. Yes. But oftentimes so the reason why I'm having this conversation with you is that there's a way that we want it to be, but then there's the way that it is. And so I can continue to do it the way that I want it to be, and then get these results that keep giving me feedback that something's not working. And I think it's this dude or this husband or that husband, when in actuality, my whole paradigm is off.
Yes. Yes.
And so it takes a tremendous amount of courage. It takes a tremendous amount of faith. It takes a tremendous amount of self-acceptance and worth to be able to walk that journey. Because to keep your heart open and to love and to be light and to be, all of that, even if the person on the other side doesn't necessarily reciprocate it in the same way, is really hard to do.
Oh my gosh,
it is really hard to do.
It is, but it is one of the most powerful and empowering things that we can do as women. And I will tell you, I mean, the first few times I really started practicing this, I was so nervous. I was shaking every time, just trying to open up. I mean, it is not for the faint of heart, but as we start to deepen into that space and you see how they respond to that, it strengthens it, right? And then it's like, there's no other better feeling. And you just, you know that you are at this place of connection and depth that is never going to shake anything. And I think that that's where we can really step into that place of a secure attachment and a secure relationship and set the foundation for a really healthy relationship, right? Where we're not second guessing, oh God, is he going to go cheat on me? Oh God, what is he thinking? Oh God, is he going to call me? Because we've already gotten to that depth where we understand each other on a depth, on a deeper level.
What's interesting though, is that when you're dating, there's no guarantee that this thing's going to go the distance. And so if we're stepping into the relationship kind of giving to get, I'm going to behave this way in order to manipulate or influence how he shows up, you're going to set yourself up to get your feelings hurt, because the other person may not respond in kind, may not respond the way that you would want them to respond. And so then what happens? Do you then shut down? It's like, I'm going to take my marbles and see, this crap didn't work, and so I'm going to go back to who I am. Or are you going to decide that I'm always going to be open and I'm always going to be full and I'm always going to, because that is now my power and not a currency that I'm trading to get what I want out of the relationship. And I think that's the piece that's really difficult, because we can all change behavior for a time. I can act a certain way for a couple months, and just kind of push through. But what she's talking about here is really stepping into this place such that this is who you are in the marketplace and in other places, right? And I want to add this parallel, because we were talking about why feminine energy is so important in a relationship. But I want to talk about feminine energy in the marketplace, in the workplace as well, because your background, you work with Uber, you've done a lot of work in that space, and I think I've read somewhere, you can correct me where I might be wrong, but you talk about burnout, and you've trained people in the marketplace on how to avoid burnout and all of that. And for women, it is about being able to step into feminine energy, because we can drive, we can be hard charging, but we are not men. Men can be hard charging for long periods of time and so on and so forth. We can be as successful as they are, but we cannot be as hard charging as they are consistently. We have hormonal cycles. We have all kinds of things that govern how we are able to sustainably succeed. And so I'm really curious as to why feminine energy is so important to bring into your marketplace and how it impacts your success, because you live that. You live that shift. So I want people to be able to kind of see that first and hear that firsthand.
Definitely. Yeah. So for anyone that doesn't know my background, I worked at Uber in San Francisco alongside Arianna Huffington, and in building out the Thrive Global program for all of the global employees of Uber to help them in reducing burnout in the workplace, because especially with Uber and all of these big Silicon Valley companies, they drive their employees to the ground and it's not sustainable. And one of the biggest goals that I had in running this and training everyone was that I was not going to be burnt out in building the burnout program.
It's a height of hypocrisy.
I was like, I have to. So I really got to experiment and play with it and not get sucked into that culture and drink the Kool-Aid of, I have to work late, I have to be doing all the things. I was really giving myself permission to practice and try out these feminine principles in the workplace and see how that worked. And what I found was it was so powerful in not only just obviously my sustainability in being able to work there for a long time, but in my ability to connect and relate to so many people in the workplace. I was able to find myself getting promoted and deepening into relationships and networks on such a deeper level because I was showing up from this place of being open-hearted and heart-centered and communicating from a place of much more of feeling and being in touch with my intuition and what I was needing and not being afraid to say what I needed and share, and set those boundaries. I think that when we, are in that go-getter, ambitious driven mode, we do get caught up in needing to be and act like the men. And what we actually get to show up as is owning, like you said, the fact that we're not men and that we get to actually bring this other beautiful other essence, like I was talking about, into our full identity, both in relationships and the workplace. And what does that look like? It looks like really honoring how we feel every single day, right? More than anything. And that may sound cheesy, or that may sound like weak, right? Or maybe you're thinking, oh yeah, well, that wouldn't be accepted in my workplace. But we have to start setting the model for that, right? Even
so
if
what does that mean? Like, what is that? So when you say honoring how you feel, how does that manifest? Because I'm sure someone's listening and being like, well, I feel a whole lot of things that nobody's really interested in, hearing about. But what do you mean by that?
It's more about actually in the little moments when we're interacting with people, right? So obviously, yeah, you can't just come into work and just be like, I'm feeling tired, I'm going to go home. It's more about in the interactions when you're connecting and having that business conversation, right? Instead of just taking care of business and then calling it done and moving on, giving yourself that extra little moment to connect into how did this interaction feel to me, right? And actually, can I share that with this person? Wow, Renessa, it feels so good to be able to be here and connect with you. I feel like we're really deepening into something really powerful here. And I feel so excited to be able to share this message with the world, right? Just in that moment, I am taking a moment to pause from the actual doing of what we're doing. And I'm having a genuine heart-based connection with you in this moment. And just right there, we are able to deepen our connection in the workplace, right? It can also come into a place of coming to your superior or coming to your other colleagues and saying, you know what, guys, I'm feeling a little bit maxed out right now. I'm feeling like I need to take some things off my plate. I'm feeling like I need some support, right? I need to set some better boundaries. I'm feeling like we're not all working together as a team, and being able to actually connect and bring more of your feelings onto the table to be addressed, right? Because if we just keep pushing them down and pushing them down, that's where the burnout happens. We just keep spinning our wheels, trying to make things work, but we're not actually honoring the fact that something feels out of alignment here. Let's talk about something feels out of alignment. Because if you feel something out of alignment, I guarantee somebody else is feeling something's out of alignment, right? So letting that be okay and giving yourself permission to have feelings, right? Once again, just like in a relationship, we're not going to dump our feelings onto our man. We're not going to dump our feelings into work. We're going to do it in a responsible, mature way. And this is something I work a lot with women on, is how to be able to process our feelings in a healthy, mature way and communicate in a healthy, mature way so that it can be received in an empowering way and not in a way that's like, whoa, you're being way too emotional for me. Right? Because that's where women and this whole feminine energy concept really gets misconstrued. We think about feminine energy as being emotional and being weak, because we have feelings and we're very in touch with our feelings. And so we think in the workplace, we have to shut down all of our feelings. And we don't have to shut down our feelings. We just have to know how to get in touch with them and process them and then exhibit them and communicate them in a way that is empowering. And when we do that, oh my gosh, the connection, the depth, the alignment that gets to come forward from that is beautiful. And it makes for a much more safe and happy and comfortable and productive workplace.
Absolutely. I love that because so obviously a lot of your work is in the love space. A lot of my work is in, where do you belong in the marketplace? Where is your perfect work? How do you get highly paid doing work you love? That kind of thing. Inevitably, when women come into my space, especially if they're talking about, oh, I've got burnout, I'm overwhelmed, I'm looking to do something different, blah, blah, blah. I want to find work I'm passionate about or that's meaningful, whatever the reason. The reality is that, yes, this may be the time to figure out what your pivot looks like, whether it's a pivot into a career, pivot into a business. But when you're overwhelmed and burned out and all of that, you're going to take that with you. You can end up in the next role doing exactly what you've always dreamed of doing since you were however old, and give it a minute, and you're going to end up in the same place, even in your perfect work. And so oftentimes I will ask about this whole burnout thing. Okay, so have you communicated to anybody in your company, in your organization, with your boss, whatever? What conversations have you had around either the workload, what's come? Because here's the deal: if you're performing, and most women listening in, y'all will perform hook or crook. I mean, you are going to perform at the cost of your cortisol and everything else. You are going to deliver. And if I know as a manager, this one right here is going to deliver, guess what? When I'm in a clutch, who's going to get the ball? It's going to be the one who I know that delivers. And so we condition people to overload us and overwhelm us and all of this because all we do is absorb it and then deliver, right? And so 9 times out of 10, they have never had a conversation. They've never set any boundaries. They've never renegotiated the contract of how we're working together. Like, none of that ever happens. And so then you wonder why you are in whatever situation that you're in. But to Teal's point, when you start honoring how you feel about something, and honoring, and the other mistake is that I'm going to take my feeling and then dump it on you, and somehow you're supposed to come up with the solution to my feeling problem. That's where people go wrong in the marketplace. You can honor how you feel, and then present how that problem is going to impact the business. Like, we got to fix this whole overloaded thing, because if we don't fix that, then here's what's in it for you if y'all don't fix what's going on with me.
Yeah.
And then here's my solution to that.
Mm-hmm.
So some of us listening in might be being invited to elevate your skill level in that conversation and how to communicate it. But the first step is to honor that the feeling is real and it's valid and it deserves to be addressed.
Yes.
I cannot stress how many conversations I have with people that I can see you are pitching an early grave. And it's rooted in fear, it's rooted in self-worth issues, it's rooted in insecurity, it's rooting if I push back, no one's gonna blah blah blah, I don't want to be seen as weak, or that I can't hack it, like all of these things that really get me stuck in my masculine. But the feminine is like, yo, this is not working. And I'm going to whisper it for a moment, and then I might elevate my voice, and then I'm going to scream with chronic illness and all of these other things that the feminine will be like, chick, you need to pay attention to what's going on. And so many of these principles that Teal is talking about allows you then to still show up in power and success and all of that, but then honor the cycle of who you are, so that the success is sustainable, but then also you get to turn it off and be this queen who is loved and nurtured and fed and cherished and all of that. But we are supposed to orchestrate that. And it's the responsibility is mine to orchestrate that in love and in work. But if I don't, but the key to that is the feminine. It's not, let me just work harder, let me yell louder, let me nag longer. let me debate this issue with you more logically, because clearly you're not hearing me. I'm guilty of all this stuff. I'm just being a pundit here. But the reality is, my hope through this conversation is you begin to see your solution differently. That it's not just more of the same. It's not, let me just do that better. It is, wow, maybe the solution is different. And it's a simpler solution that might be harder to execute because I got all kind of conditioning crap I got to work on. But it's not do it harder, maybe do it softer.
Yes. Which is the whole name of my company and brand, Relaxing into Love, right? And I just love this idea. And this, I can't even take credit for this. This was spirit just speaking through me, truly. And it's so simple yet so profound, right? It's just giving ourselves permission to not push so hard, not try so hard, but to actually relax. And I know that that word probably is so triggering to a lot of people. It's like, well, duh, of course, if I relaxed, of course it's going to be easy, but how do you do that? And I'm already trying and I can't, right? There's so much that is packed into that word of relaxing, right? And it really is going back into that full circle with the energy, right? It's about an energy of relaxing. What does that really mean? It means letting go. It means dropping out of the head, dropping out of the leaning forward energy, actually leaning back and just letting things drop into a place of flow. Even if as I'm speaking, it's like, right? It's an energy of
Yeah.
And I don't think that women in that ambitious state give themselves permission to just enough, right? To release. And yet when we do that, that is the way forward. Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And so my hope from this conversation, your whole life is not to be transformed in one conversation, but my hope is that you've been validated in some way, that it's like, oh, I could see how this could be at the root of some things, that you have been agitated in some way, like, I don't even like what she said, I'm sure if I like her, she thinks she is. That is a really great reaction to have as well. And that you walk away and you're curious about what could be my solution and how could I invest in growing through this, right? Because again, if you had a medical issue, or if you had a weight issue that you couldn't deal with, if you had a career business issue that you needed, support with, hopefully you would go and you would I'm all about pay for speed, like go pay for speed, get done faster than struggling on your own. But love is the thing that we think we're supposed to toil through on our own. Or that we think somehow it'll just figure it out, or if he just gets himself together, then, this is the place. My hope is that there's enough validation, agitation, and the consideration of a new solution that says, wow, let me investigate how I can get support in this way. And so that leads us to, how can I learn more about Teal? How can I connect to her ecosystem? If her conversation resonates with you, then we're going to talk about a free gift that she's providing to all of those of you who are listening in. But my encouragement is go grab it. Grab it. Even if it doesn't resonate with you, that particular, go grab it, because when you grab it, you then become in her ecosystem and you're able to learn from her. You're able to have opportunities to work with her, opportunities to consume her content and all of that good stuff. And I think that's all it's worth your whole time here to do that. So help us understand what it is that you are providing for the audience, and then we'll share with people how they're able to access it.
I just have to say, I adore you so much. I know we just met, but you just have such a beautiful presence and such a beautiful energy. And I've been really loving this conversation so much.
Relationship energetic. See,
it is. I mean,
you can have girlfriends with relationship energetic.
Oh my God. Can we be friends, please?
I need some more friends.
But thank you for just giving me the platform for us to be able to massage this concept out and to get this out to more women. And yeah, to each of you ladies, I really do hope that, like Renessa beautifully said, I love that agitation and inspiration and whatever the other word was. It was so good. But I have a really fun, special gift, and a very generous gift that I would love to gift your audience. For a very short amount of time, I am opening up doors for a free month of coaching and access to all of my course content as a free trial as part of my Love Lounge membership. So I call it the Ladies Love Lounge. And this is a special private community of women that I have pulled together of ambitious women that are all wanting to learn exactly like we're talking about, how to relax into love, how to deepen into their feminine energy, how to expand their self-confidence, their self-worth in relationships, and just get more in alignment with all of themselves, right? The feminine and the masculine. So for ladies that are interested in just kind of, coming into my world, exploring this Love Lounge membership, I want to offer a free trial of that.
Awesome.
So I'll leave the link with you, and
Yep.
you can just put in the coupon code LOVE
Okay.
to be able to get that free month.
Perfect. So the link is on the bottom of this video here, the interview. Y'all better get on that. It's rare that you get 30 days of like real coaching and real access and real content. And so when you have those kinds of opportunities, you take them. You just take them. And so there should be a link here. That link will take you to a place where you can enter your name and email address and all of that. Super simple, but definitely take full advantage. And so Teal, it's been my pleasure to connect. I'm so delighted to have you on the show, but delighted to have met you and connected with you and learned from you and pitched and catched and all that good thing as well. And so to all of you listening in, it's been a delight, and we honor you and we bless you, and we look forward to our paths crossing again. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.